I loved going to the doctor's office when I was a kid because in the waiting room they always had a stack of the Highlights magazine. And in each issue of the Highlights magazine was a picture. And embedded in the picture were many objects hidden within the contours of the drawing. And it was your job to find as many of those objects as you could. I got pretty good at it. I love to see things where others don't. Perhaps that's why I loved Where's Waldo so much when my kids were growing up, and why I continue to look for things that others fail to see. I remember in third grade, I think it was, we were in Sunday school class in Miss Betty Coombs' room. She asked the question of the class, what upstairs in church do we look at for comfort or hope or inspiration? And some people said the cross or the stained glass windows or the altar. When she got to me, I said it was the statue of Jesus at the back of the church. You know, the one that came from the altarpiece of the old church before we moved. She said, there's no statue at the back of the church. I said, well, yes, there is. And she said, no, we don't have statues. I started to argue and realized I was getting nowhere, but she wouldn't let it go. She took the entire class upstairs. And much to her chagrin, there was a statue of Jesus, very much like the one behind me, standing over the congregation in prayerful benediction. He was there all along, and yet she could not see him. Part of that is that we look for Jesus in very particular ways. In fact, the church teaches us to look for Jesus in very particular ways. In my tradition, it is in the waters of baptism, the bread and wine of communion, the word spoken, preached, prayed, sung, and the body gathered. There we expect to see Jesus. But one of the realities of the resurrection is that Jesus isn't always where we expect him. When the women go to the tomb, he's not there. He's gone before them. And so he continues to reveal himself. One of the things that happened with COVID is that many of those places that we relied on seeing Jesus, being comforted, given hope, given security, were taken away from us. Our churches were shut down. We can't receive communion in the same way. We've had to social distance. We can't sing. We struggle to see Jesus. When the Greeks come to Philip and ask to see Jesus, he goes to Jesus, and Jesus points beyond himself. And so he continues to reveal his presence. If we look carefully, we will see Jesus even today. Over the course of this last year, I've seen him often. And Mike, who stocks the shelves at Walmart, and has done so throughout this pandemic, that we might have food and supplies, even at risk to his own health. Or Carrie and Mary and Lori, nurses who provide healing, who watch the dying. For John and so many of those other truckers that cross this country with much needed food and supplies and clothing, that we may be sustained in these days. For Dan and Alyssa, who have to do the hard work of comforting the bereaved as their loved ones have died. For Ignazio and Darren, and Mary and Nancy, John, who tried to keep their businesses open in the midst of restrictions, that we might have some sense of normalcy in a world that is anything but normal. And our brothers and sisters at Hope Rising, the Presbyterian Church, or here at Grace, whose generosity continues to feed the hungry in the midst of their needs. All around us, if we look carefully, we will see Jesus. In fact, that's not a bad exercise for the day. Before we close our eyes, to ask the question, where did you see Jesus today? In the morning when I rise, in the morning when I rise, in the morning when I rise, give me Jesus. Dark at midnight was my cry. Dark at midnight was my cry. Dark at midnight was my cry. Give me Jesus. Just about the break of day, just about the break of day, just about the break of day, give me Jesus. Oh, when I come to die, oh, when I come to die, oh, when I come to die, give me Jesus. And when I want to sing, and when I want to sing, and when I want to sing, give me Jesus. Give me Jesus. Give me Jesus.